before you and I started working together, whatever it was, 20 plus years ago, we would do a lot of advertising. And you were the one that introduced me to the concept of, hey, why don't you fish in your own pond?
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, as well as my latest book is a playbook for plastic surgery practices, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's special guest is a returning guest. It's Dr. Victor Ferrari. He's a board-certified plastic surgeon and founder of Premier Plastic Surgery Center and Premier Spa, located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's been there over 25 years. Now, Dr. Ferrari is known for natural-looking results, patient care, and a long-standing reputation in his community. He also served on international medical mission trips to Central America and Africa, using his surgical skills to help patients with congenital deformities, traumatic injuries, and burn scars. Dr. Ferrari, welcome back to Beauty and the Biz.
Thanks, Catherine. It's great to be back.
Yeah, well, the last time we talked, it was way too depressing. It was in 2020, and we were talking about COVID, and frankly, I'm still wondering what that was all about, but it wasn't a good time. So this time I wanted to be a lot more positive because I have known you for a very long time. You are such a example of running a very nice, reputable practice and growing it like a normal way. There aren't a bunch of bells and whistles here. It's a solid practice after long term. And I just want you to share your practice pearls, more or less. So I wanted to start with the first thing, and that is the practice location. How important is it to choose a location? How did you choose that one? And what went into your decision making?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the compliments, by the way, on the practice. I appreciate that. And you were part of the growth process, so thank you for all the help that you gave us throughout the years. The location issue, when I wanted to go out on my own, I wanted a location that was very close to a hospital was probably my number one priority in a good area of town, obviously. But I wanted to be close to a hospital because I knew I wanted to have my own surgery center in the building. And heaven forbid there's an emergency, I wanted to be close to a hospital because I think that's comforting to patients, knowing that we're right across from the hospital. And number two, there's a lot of medical practices within half a mile of my building. And so people just know that this part of town is medical. And I think that adds credibility to you if you're in that part of town. There are some parts of town that maybe are a little more upscale, but they're very far from a hospital. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I was more concerned about getting the patients the best care possible versus being in a hoity-toity area. So the place where my building is now was not a building at the time that I was looking. And it's just luck of the draw, like they say, God has plans for you. I ran into a friend of mine from high school and we were like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm a property developer. And I said, oh, well, I'm looking for a piece of land near a hospital where I'm going to put up a building. Well, like 3 days later, he calls me and he says, look, there's an orthopedic surgeon that has this property across the street from the hospital. And he had a heart attack and he's retiring right away and he wants to sell it really fast. Are you interested? I said, sign me up. So literally like a couple weeks later, we bought the property and then they started construction soon thereafter. And a year later, we were up and running in this beautiful building that we designed ourselves the way we wanted it to be. We built it in a way that there's an extra 1,500 square feet where we can expand if we need to. The building is made for two surgeons. Right now, I'm the solo guy, but we can certainly add another doctor, another surgeon comfortably. And we have enough room for ancillary procedures. For example, we have two nurse injectors. We have Premier Spa, which is mainly a facial spa. It's not like massages and that kind of thing, but mainly facial things, rejuvenation type products that we sell there and services. That all combines together. We occasionally have rented some rooms out to people that were complementary to what we do here. For example, we had a nurse practitioner that used to come in and do hormonal therapy for women here. And that was a great compliment to what we were doing. Then she went out on her own. She put up her own building. But services like that, I think the patients appreciate more of like a one-stop shop. So that's the way we kind of designed it so it would be a good flow. And also, those ancillary procedures have fed a lot of the surgical procedures because people oftentimes want to just dip their toe in the shallow end of the pool when it comes to cosmetic things. And so they might start with Botox or fillers or skincare. And then the staff kind of talks to them and they get to the point where the ancillary things aren't meeting their needs. And they're like, well, have you considered a eyelid tuck or a facelift or liposuction or whatever it is? It guides the conversation. And the fact that our patients trust these ancillary providers is just a natural flow onto the surgical side of the practice. And that's helped it to grow a lot. The ancillary procedures also provide some not truly passive income, but somewhat passive income for us. It's not the bulk of the production, obviously, but I think the biggest benefit is that it does feed more surgical patients our way. And I think it helps with the reputation of the practice because whenever we have an injectable patient, a new one, we have a rule. I meet them, even if
Oh,
it's just for a couple of minutes.
good.
Even though the nurse injectors are qualified to make their own decisions and they're nurse practitioners, they can do it themselves. But I think the fact that I just meet them and say hello and then they feel more comfortable being in the practice. And I'm not some entity out there, the doctor that's not touchable, not seeable. The door's open. And I always say, listen, if you ever have a problem, you can always get a hold of me 24/7. I'm available for you. If you have any issues that you're not sure about, you can always call me through the office. So I think they like that.
That's a
And that
great
has
girl.
brought a lot of more people
Yeah.
because they're like, hey, he was friendly, he was nice. I think I want to talk to him about whatever procedure. So when it comes time for them to have a cosmetic procedure, they think of me, hopefully.
For sure. And you also, they had a lot of credibility already with the service provider who then recommended you. And now she's introducing you to the patient to you. There's just all sorts of good stuff happening there because I don't know many patients who have money are dying to waste their time going place to place. I think we spend way too much time trying to attract new patients than retaining the ones we already have, as you know my theory on that. And I just think they'll come back again and again. I am that patient. I'll come back again and again and give you all sorts of money if you take care of me. But and if you offer all the services that I want, it's such a double-edged sword. In some practices, they offer all of this stuff, and the med spa has gotten very complicated, and there's way too many providers, and they're losing track of the money and the supplies. And did you find that at all, or did you go in a little bit? You're a pretty organized person, though, so you probably have a good handle on that. Have you had any issues with trying to manage a med spa?
No, not really. The main thing is that we hired an excellent office manager who takes care of all those things. And she and I will talk periodically and try to figure out if the production is where it should be, and if it's not, what do we need to do that's different? And by the way, I'm going to put in a little plug for you in
Thank
the
you.
fact that before you and I started working together, whatever it was, 20 plus years ago, we would do a lot of advertising. And you were the one that introduced me to the concept of, hey, why don't you fish in your own pond? And you established the emails for us. And just the fact that we were now in contact with the patients, and every month you had something a little bit special, a little bit different, some little hook to try to get them back in. That was one of the best decisions ever because it is, like you say, it's way less expensive to bring a patient back to your practice than to get some stranger you never met to come to your practice. And so we keep having repeat people because we're always in front of them and they never have to ask, hey, I wonder if he's still in practice. I mean, they know because we're always in touch with them. So thank you for that.
Of course. Yeah, you're welcome. Back to the office location though. Okay, that was kudos to you. So you bought the land, you bought the building. Wasn't that the best investment you've ever made?
Yeah, absolutely. I just by personality wise, I like to make my own decisions. I like to be in charge. I like that if I think something needs to be done better, the next day we just change it. And I remember being a resident in general surgery and plastic surgery. I might have had some good ideas. They didn't go anywhere because when you're in a university setting, you can't just start doing things differently that you think might work. I mean, you've got to go to the attending and they've got to approve it. And then they oftentimes have to go through different levels of hierarchy to get things changed in the hospital. and things didn't move very quickly. And I didn't like that because I thought while we're waiting for this improvement to happen,
Mhm.
patients are getting the best possible care. There was a lot of good things that we could have done sooner. So I knew when I finished residency, I wanted to go out on my own. I didn't want to stay in a hospital type setting. To me, that's kind of suffocating. And I think the other thing that's nice, the harder you work, the more you make. And I mean, yeah, we love what we do, but it is a business as well. And you get to drive that ship as fast as you want it to go. And you can make quick decisions and up your game if you want and try to bring more people in. And I can direct the staff as to the culture of this practice. How do we see patients? How are we going to treat them? And we make sure everybody's treated with the utmost respect and kindness. And we have certain protocols and rules. For example, if a patient calls with a problem, the
Mhm.
maximum time they can wait to get an answer to their question is 15 minutes.
Good.
And if it's not 50, if it's more than 15 minutes, I want to know why it took us longer than 50. Even if I'm in surgery, they can come in and go over problems with me. Oftentimes, we get patients to text us a photo through a HIPAA compliant line. If they have a question from home, the staff can quickly show it to me while I'm operating. We can make a decision and get back to them. Either this looks okay, or we need to see you here soon. I think if you put people off to the next day, two things. One, they're not happy. These people are putting out a lot of money for you to take good care of them. And number two, you might miss an opportunity to nip something in the bud that could have been easily treated that day. If you wait for the next day, now it's a much bigger deal. And, now it's going to be a lot more complicated, maybe a lot more expensive for the person. So we have certain things like that in place. And whenever people come for an appointment, we try to do the same thing that nobody should have to wait more than 15 minutes. That would be the upper limit. Rare exceptions, but we're typically on schedule. Now, we tend to spend or allocate more time than most plastic surgeons for a consult. For example, we have a full hour. So a lot of people ask me, well, why do you book an hour? Because a lot of my friends, they do a half an hour, maybe a consult. And I think there's a few reasons. One, we don't want people to wait, so we don't crowd the schedule. Number two, I don't just talk about the surgery. A lot of times, being more holistic, I try to ask them if they're taking supplements, and if so, what are they taking and why? A lot of people don't understand why they're taking them, just somebody recommended it. And number two, sometimes they're taking them incorrectly. So we go into that a little bit because I think they appreciate that it's more than just a surgical consultation. We also spend a lot of time trying to find out how long you've been thinking about this, what finally triggered you to have it done, what do you expect? And the good thing is when you've been in practice so many years as I have, we have so many before and after photos that I can typically say, I have a patient very similar to you in the situation, and I can show you what I did before and after. So you can kind of see, is this the result you were looking for? And I think that's pretty helpful too. If you can target somebody similar to them, they love seeing that because you can do a computer morph picture that doesn't mean anything in my book in the sense that the computer can do whatever you want. But if you show them a real live before and after, then they can say, okay, he's got the skill to give me what I'm hoping to look like at the end of the day.
Hello, it's Catherine with a quick announcement. My new book, Beauty and the Biz, the Plastic Surgery Practice Growth Playbook, is at the printer. Now, it's based on 175 interviews with top plastic surgeons across the country, what they're doing differently to convert more, retain more, and profit more. You can pre-order a copy of the book at beautyandthebizbook.com. Now, back to the show. Well, when it comes to the consultation, the patient is looking for reassurance and trust. So I think you've built up your trust so much with all of the years you've been in practice. And we did a lot of things for that. Like, you've done a lot. You started with PR and it grows from there. So you have the reputation, you have the credibility, but now you're giving them the reassurance, the one-on-one reassurance that they're a good candidate, they'll get a good results from this. You've done it a million times, that's what the patients are looking for. So you've got that consult down. I'm wondering, back to business, how did you learn the business side? Because surgeons are not known for running businesses very well.
Yeah.
Because they don't think like that because they didn't go to business school. They went to medical school, and the rest of us went
Yeah.
to school. Did you just do trial and error, or how'd you learn that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when I first started, I did read some books on business and management and marketing and other things, and I was trying to do it all myself, and that got to be kind of exhausting. And I finally realized my time is better spent learning and doing the surgery part to the best of my abilities and outsourcing the other business type things. Um, one of the kind of pearls, if you would, um, I when I was younger, I was trying to save money and not hire a patient care coordinator. And so I was trying to teach the manager how to do consults from books I had read and how to, and that wasn't that particular, not the manager I have now, but I had another one at the time. That wasn't her strengths. Our conversion rates were quite pathetic. They were in the 30%. And I was like, we're spending so much time with these consults and so few people are signing up. It was very painful. And finally, I think it might have been you kind of convinced me to get a patient care coordinator, saying she's going to pay for herself in no time. And you were absolutely right. So when we did that, and one person dedicated just to that, the conversion rates went up to 60, 70%. Now they're way above 80% closure as we keep fine tuning the whole process. Another thing you told me about, I don't know if you remember this, you said write a book. You've got a lot of stuff you can write about. So I did that, and we give the book away. It's on sale on Amazon, and at one time it had hit like Amazon bestseller list. I don't know exactly what that means, like how we got there, but they sent me this thing saying you're an Amazon bestseller. Here's a decal you can put on your book, like an emblem you can put on your
Hey,
book. Just have it printed. I was like, I don't know how that happened, but that's great.
I call that a growth asset because you've written the book. It's a pain in the neck to write the books. I've written two, and now I remember why I didn't do the next one, until what, 10 years, 15 years later,
Yeah.
because it's a lot. But once you do it, you're now an author. You have all the instant credibility. You use it as a lead generating mechanism. I was going to say to you, the Amazon thing is fantastic. The only issue is when you have your book on Amazon and they buy it there, you don't know anything about them because you just know somebody bought a book, but you don't know their name, email, or cell phone. So I would also recommend that in certain places on social media, offer a free PDF copy of it for their
Oh, that's a
name,
good idea.
email, and cell. And now you start that conversation. So that book, it can do so much work for you behind the scenes. You set it up and let it run. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
But I
Thank you.
wanted to talk about staff because another pearl is having a staff person with continuity who's been there forever. You have an office manager. Like, how helpful has it been for this? How big of a deal is staffing? And how helpful is it to have somebody who's been around?
Yeah, no question. It's critical. I can remember years ago we had different staff here, and they didn't all get along. There was a lot of it was almost like being back in high school. And sometimes the staff would come into my office, close the door, and start complaining about another staff member. I
Yeah.
was like,
Okay. Get me out of
I was like, I didn't sign up for this. And they didn't want to talk to the manager. They wanted to talk to me. And no matter what I said, they would always come to my office. So as we've gotten rid of some people that didn't work well as a team and added others, once we see the personalities all go together, that's been huge because all my staff is female. They all get along well. And Jan, our manager, is very good about keeping everybody happy, but yet still being professional enough that if somebody needs to be disciplined, I guess is a word, but corrected, she
it.
can do that as well. I haven't always had managers like that.
Mm.
We have monthly meetings,
Nice.
and we all get together early in the morning and we talk about issues that have come up and how to resolve them. We listen to everybody's input. And because of that, because everybody has a slightly different perspective and all these people are professional, we keep refining the process every month of how to take good care of patients, how to get more efficiency out of the office. And even things like how to get more Google reviews. Like people
Mhm.
have different ideas, and we've come up with some on our own that I think have been helpful. For example, if you do a Google review, it helps feed hungry children in the mountains of Appalachia, North Carolina. Like who wouldn't want to help a little kid, right? So it's not that we're paying them to do it, but they feel like, okay, this is helping feed a child somewhere.
Wait, what was the connection to that? How does that have, what does that have to do with each other?
It's just if they do a Google review, they get rewarded in the sense that we send money to starving children in
Your
the
practice sends money to start.
practice. Yes,
I thought
for
you were
every.
saying Amazon does. Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, for every Google review, we
gotcha.
tell them we're going to send $25 to this
Lovely.
charitable organization
Good.
that will feed hungry children in the mountains of North Carolina.
Well, you
Uh,
know what they say, we human beings will do it when you give us a why. We need
yeah,
a why for everything we do. So that's the part that we're always missing, especially being leaders of practices. You have to give them their why. Why are we
yeah,
doing this? And so good for you. You've gotten very good at listening to females. I think there's an art to that because you male surgeons are surrounded by females. And
yes.
oh my gosh, it's like having, 20 wives around there and everyone wants to tell you things and you have to listen and be compassionate and all of that. And was that difficult? You're kind of innately like that anyway. You've been married a very long time. But was
Yeah.
that difficult to learn to be around so many women and the emotional side of things?
Yes and no. I grew up with two older sisters.
Oh, okay.
And I have four daughters, ages 23 to 30. So I've been surrounded by women my whole life. The only other testosterone in my family is two dogs that we
Got
have that are male. But other than that,
it.
I've
Yeah.
just been used to talking to women my whole life. So it was not that much of a transition for me
Oh,
or
that's super helpful. Yeah, because you're really good at it, and that's why women go
things.
straight to you. Although as the leader, I would say, no, 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 you got to go to Jan. I'm keep me out of it.
Yeah.
Tell me something. Like, what has been after 25 years? What has been the biggest challenge running a solo plastic surgery practice?
For me, it's been social media.
Mm,
Because I didn't grow up with it like these, kids, I
mm,
had to learn that on my own and try to figure it out. And taking the time to do videos and think of ideas,
mm,
uh, that's something I wasn't used to. I was just used to giving somebody money, letting them advertise for me, and then patients would come in. But I've seen the power of social media as we do videos. We've been pulling patients from all over the country amazingly. Like, I did some videos about subfascial breast augmentation, and not a lot of surgeons are doing that. And we were bringing people from the West Coast, even from Washington State, from Portland, Oregon. We pulled one from Chicago. We certainly have pulled some from Florida because I used to be in Florida and in Miami, and
mm.
some people still remember me. But we had some come from the Northeast. I mean, people were just coming. Oh, I've got a woman coming from Switzerland because she
Wow.
saw the subfascial augmentation video. And then she looked me up online and all. She's flying in from Switzerland and she doesn't have connections to Charlotte. She's going to bring a friend. I mean, that's the power of social media. I mean, I could not possibly spend enough money to advertise internationally like that and bring people in, but you're on social media and some of these videos, get a lot of traction. It's amazing. I did one on a simple one. Just I'm in my car and I'm like, okay, when you're at a stoplight, when the light turns green, look both ways before you go. Like a very simple video. It's had over 1 million views.
It was
Like, you gotta
amazing.
be,
I watched it yesterday and I realized, oh my God, I am that person who is so competitive. I'm the first one out in the intersection. It never dawned on me. I mean, I vaguely look around, but after I saw that, I thought, oh boy, I've been very fortunate. Yeah. That's a good video. You're very good at that, and frankly, you have to use Instagram nowadays to grow your audience because Google SEO organic is never going to show you anybody other than people in North Carolina, people like literally in your town. You need
yeah.
social media to expand on that, and you have a really good website that, and everyone forgets this part. Your website has, and for you out of towners, here's what we do. You have to invite people to know, of course we handle patients from all over the world. That's how we are. It really helps your credibility as well. You're doing all the right things on that. Give me one big mistake that you've made. You probably made a few, but give me one big mistake that is a common one to make, or one that's not common that others could learn from.
Ooh, that's a good one. To narrow it down to one, let me see. Uh, I guess one of the bigger mistakes was trying to do all the marketing on my own and wasting a lot of money chasing shiny objects that never panned out. Or, you get somebody in here who goes, oh, if you just did TV ads or if you just did this, and we spent a lot of money in the wrong places. And I think it was because it wasn't concentrated enough to make a big enough impact. People have to see your message over and over and over again. So if you're just going to do like a short little TV run, you're probably not going to get anything. And not that many people watch cable TV anymore because that's you know, the kind of stuff we were doing. And sometimes it took us a while to shift gears. Like, for example, when I first started, we had radio ads with the most popular radio station in Charlotte, and it brought like 8 to 10 return on investment. It was fantastic. Well, then as radio kind of faded out and Sirius XM and those kinds of things took over, the radio return on investment kind of dwindled. And I think it took us too long to realize that. So for years we kept spending a ton of money on radio till finally we said this isn't working. And it was hard to track. They would have their own dedicated phone number, but a lot of people, they would just remember your name and then go to the website or just, look up your number some other. So it was hard to track, and they recognized that. And when we would even ask people, how did you hear about us? TV, radio, internet, social media, whatever. A lot of people forget about that they heard you on radio, and so website or internet got most of the credit for things like that. The other thing was the social media. I was a little too slow, I think, to catch up on that. I didn't realize the power of it until probably a year or two into it, and then we started seeing some results with it. So I wish I had been a little more savvy with it. I wish I'd asked my kids because they were all doing it and they were getting a lot of views and likes on their videos, and they kept saying, "Dad, you got to do social media." I'm like, "No, I don't have time for that." Yeah, I wish I had taken time with that. So
Hire one of them. Yeah.
I
Um,
should, right? Yeah,
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 it's not too late for social media. You have to do it. AI
yeah.
is really going to hurt this organic search. So you really have to do it. I think the secret is you just find, and it's going to take a few to get to the right one, but you interview some people who know how to do branding on Instagram. Quite frankly, TikTok and Instagram, and well, you have to be on YouTube and LinkedIn, all of them. You have to be on all of them, quite frankly. But if you get somebody who knows what they're doing, they're good at video editing, and they know
Yeah.
CapCut. They only need to know CapCut and Canva that does the design. And they know how to edit and make you look good. And then you block the time, so you two would get together, let's say once a week, you block the time, they come in with some ideas, you come in with some ideas, and you develop a calendar, and then you make it happen. And it has to be regular and it has to be consistent. And some of it's fun. So I like to say 70% educational, maybe like 60% educational, 30% fun, and then 10% promotion, you know?
Okay.
But you need them to follow you around once a week in the hallways and in coming and going from surgery, and they have to come up with some really good creative stuff for you. And I'll tell you, there is no limit to that, because if you can get good at it, and you don't have to be brilliant, you just have to be personable, and you are. The reach is amazing. You'll just like you're learning. How does a woman in Switzerland decide to come all the way over here in the middle of North Carolina? It's not like she
Yeah.
went to Miami, or
Right.
New York. She goes all the way to North Carolina. That's crazy. Like that means you resonated with her. So great.
Yeah.
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 By the way, you also are very good at getting the videos and the social proof, because that's also a big one. We want to know you're great, but it's really good to hear it from your patients also. So do you
Mhm.
have any secrets or tips on how you're getting the consents to show photos and get people on video?
Uh, we obviously wait until they come for follow-up and they have a good result.
Mhm.
And I usually just say something like, well, first, I mean, we try to get a couple of yeses, like, oh, are you happy with the size? Are you happy with the outcome? And then I'll say, hey, can you do me a favor? And the first thing I ask for is the Google review. Would they be willing to do a Google review? And if they say yes to that, then it tells me that they're probably open to sharing their photos. So then I go, one more thing, if you'd be so kind as to let me use your photos, there's a lot of patients that might benefit from seeing your before and after because you got a great result. And sometimes we have patients that look exactly like you, and that would really help them. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I'd be glad to. So we rarely get pushback from females. With males, it's a different story. Even
Mhm.
if we're not showing their faces, guys are like, no. I think they're afraid maybe somebody will recognize their body or whatever it is. Guys are typically, and I can understand it, but guys, it's very hard to get their before and afters. And sometimes people call, hey, do you ever do male surgery? You don't have a lot on your website. Well, yeah, that's because the guys don't typically consent to letting us use their photos.
I have a pearl for that if you want it,
Sure,
um,
yeah.
because we all know that, but the patients don't know that yet. So on your website, I would literally put a note at the photo gallery saying many more photos available of women and female, or of male and female, who do not want to be online, and we'll show them to you in office.
Mm.
And just get the patient to consent. Can I at least show your photos in the office? And
Okay.
they'll say, "Oh, okay, you can do that, but I just don't want to be online." And that way, at least you're trying to cover that more because you'll hear that a lot, especially like I'm asked of course they want to show that, and then they're like, but they have a tattoo, and they don't want to show that. So anyway, it's a big deal, but you've done a good job at that, and I love the will you do me a favor? We women love to do you a favor, so that's fantastic. I will tell you though, sometimes it works the other way around. You start with the hard ass first, and then you end up with the review. So can I
Mm.
use your photos? No. How about if I crop? No. Well, can I at least get a review? So
Okay, we'll try
yeah, like
that.
the conciliatory. Okay, you can have something. I'm just always trying to not leave empty-handed because they're everything. The social proof is everything in today's world.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Do you have a crazy patient or staff story you care to share after all these years?
Uh, Actually, I do have kind of a funny story. This was a long time ago, and the guy's not even on our website anymore. But this was a guy, mid 50s. I'm not trying to be mean, but he looked kind of like Freddy Krueger, and he had like a really big nose.
Okay.
And I should have seen this coming because he said, I always say, when did you start thinking about having a procedure done? Oh, he goes, oh, years ago. I go out with my friends to bars, and I'm a cool guy, and I put my hat on backwards, and I'm like, dude, you're 55. You don't need to be wearing your hat backwards. And he goes, and all the girls talk to my friends, they don't talk to me. And I know it's because of the nose. And I'm like, this is like a total red flag to every plastic surgeon that this guy thinks his life's going to get better if he just fixes his nose.
Hmm.
And the rhinoplasty came out great. And he let me use him on the website for years. But he still wasn't happy. He's like, the girls still aren't talking to me. And so he said, well, you make it smaller. And I said, sure. So we did it for free. Yeah, I wanted the guy to be happy. So we made it smaller. He still wasn't happy. He came back a third time. We made it smaller again.
Oh my
And
God.
I kept telling him, I said, you've got very coarse features. A small nose is going to look weird on you like a Michael Jackson. He goes, I don't care. I want it smaller. I'm like, so he made him sign all these things that it wasn't, in his best interest, and he's like, I don't care. I want a small nose like my friends. I'm like, so when I did the third time, he was finally happy with the small nose. I personally thought it was too small for his face, but he was happy. And then he sent his daughter, who was probably around 23 or so. So he had been married, he was divorced. And he sent his daughter, and I did her rhinoplasty. She was happy. But this guy was just like initially unhappy because the girls weren't talking to him, but it wasn't, it wasn't his nose. I didn't know how to
You might
tell him
want to
that.
lose
But
the baseball cap at 55 years old. Yeah.
But as surgeons, sometimes we see a problem and we start salivating like Pavlov's dogs, like, I can fix this. I can make this look so much better. And you just blank out as to the fact that this guy psychologically or this woman psychologically is not ready to have surgery. And then you pay a high price for it because they come back, they're not happy. So that's one thing I've learned the hard way. Make sure that they're not trying to fix a life problem with their surgery. The other thing I learned was make sure they have realistic expectations. So that's why we spend so much time with the consults, because if they're not realistic and they don't get the dream result they thought they were going to get, they're not going to be happy. You have to get them to the place where they understand what it's going to be. Um, those are probably the funny. Oh, I had one. Do you have time for one other
Yeah,
guy?
yeah.
This guy I didn't touch, luckily. This was a lawyer who came in. This one I was the chief resident in Miami, and I'll
Mhm.
never forget this guy. He walks in and he's just kind of strange to begin with. And like you would ask him a question, how are you doing? Fine, how are you? Like I was analyzing everything I asked him. So
Mhm.
long story short, I ask him, why is he here? He's like, and he starts going like this.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, okay, what? He's like, you can see my nasolabial folds are not symmetric,
Oh my
right?
God.
I mean, he called them nasolabial folds, which I thought
Oh,
this is kind of weird.
yeah.
So he goes, I can tell when I'm in front of a jury, they're staring at this deformity. They're not paying attention to what I say. And I'm like, okay, you're nuts, you
Yeah.
know? And so he goes, I said, look, this is kind of complicated. I'm a resident. I'm not exactly sure what to do. And he goes, I understand that you're a resident, but I also understand that Wednesday mornings there's a conference where all the plastic surgeons in Miami get together at the university and they talk about challenging problems. And I want you to present me at the conference next Wednesday. And so I'm like, and back then we had like scheduling books. So I'm flipping through the book and I'm like, oh boy, okay, July 1st. You know what? I finish in July and we don't have any more time on the schedule to see you. So you'll have to come back in July when another chief resident takes over. And I said, in the meantime, you could go see Dr. So and so. He goes, I've been to Dr. So and so and this doctor and that doctor. Nobody wants to help me. And I'm like, because you're nuts.
Yeah.
So he finally goes, look, I am not leaving this office until you get me on the schedule for the grand rounds meeting.
How does he know all of this?
Because some other surgeon said you need to go to the university, get the chief resident to put you on the grand round schedule. That's where he learned about it.
Gotcha.
Because nobody wanted to touch this guy. It was a very simple inject some fillers. It was not a complicated thing, but nobody wanted to touch him because he was so nuts.
Yeah.
He thought he was losing trials because of his deformity. And so I,
And you say we women are crazy, huh?
yeah, this guy was top of the bar. So finally, when he said, I'm not leaving until you get me on the schedule, I said, you're not leaving? He said, no, I'm not leaving. I said, well, and I am. I just got up and walked out. And the secretary said he waited there like 15 minutes and then yelled an expletive and slammed the door on the way out of the office. I was like, so he was probably the most nuts guy I've ever had.
That our industry, it brings in some crazy. And I just say to all surgeons, and I've asked everybody who's been sued, what did you learn? And almost everybody says, I had a gut feeling about it. I thought I could handle it. I've been here before, and frankly, it got out of hand. And I regret the day I met this person. I just think, follow your gut. You probably get better at that as you get older too, and you're more
Yeah,
mature and you've made money and you don't have to die on every surgery you do. Like
yeah.
that one's going to pay the bills. But anyway, last question. Tell us something interesting we don't know about you.
I'd probably tell you a couple things. One, I was born in Argentina. When
Oh,
I
I didn't
was,
know that.
yeah, when I was 3 years old, we moved to the United States.
Good.
So I speak Spanish fluently, which has come in very handy
Oh,
because sometimes I've been in places, especially when I was in Miami, that people would be talking about me,
huh?
sometimes in a good way, sometimes not. And then I could turn around and, reply in
Oh,
Spanish. And
that's
they were like,
great.
oh, perdón, doctor, no sabía. Like they had no idea. So that's one thing. The other thing, I'm very committed to Christ and the church, and I'm a deacon. I'm a Gideon. I try to share Christ with as many people as I can because I think the days are short. And if you don't know what that means, and call me and I'll tell you
Yeah.
all about it. But that's my bigger passion than surgery is to serve in the kingdom of God.
Nice.
And I think a lot of people may or may not know about that. If you've ever seen my book and you read the first page, people would know that about me. But other than that, and I try to live it out every day. I'm not 100% good at it, but I try. So.
And you're an excellent water skier.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Yes. I've
I
seen
appreciate
your
that.
Instagram. He is a killer water skier if you want to check it out. By the way, do you have any, just as we wrap it up, do you have any advice for up and coming surgeons or even surgeons who have been around for 15 years and they still have another, 15 to go? Any advice for anybody?
Yeah. I would say uh, do frequent vitals checks on your practice and how patients are perceiving you. You can do that through questionnaires. You can ask your staff, hey, be honest with me. How am I treating patients? And if you're kind to your staff, they will tell you, hey, you know what? I don't think that woman liked the way you talked to her. And so I've always refined the way, especially follow-ups. I mean, when surgeons that are perfectionistic like me and have a patient that's not happy about the little 1% that didn't turn out just right, it gets under your skin, and there's times where you just want to lash out, to be honest with you, and you've got to learn, hey, it's not worth it. Just talk to patients calmly, you'll get a lot farther. And if you made a mistake, just say, oh, you know what, I think I took too much fat out of this one area, I'm going to fix it for you. But don't try to gaslight the patient and make them feel like they're crazy, and don't tell them I don't see the problem. If there's a problem, just admit it. Okay, I tried. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna touch it up for you. I'm gonna do it for free. I'm gonna fix it. And then they're happy. And I've had so many patients refer patients to me, even though they had a complication, and we fixed them, we treated them kindly. Had we not done that,
Mhm.
it would have meant a huge difference, not just in revenue, but in your reputation.
Mhm.
And the more kind you are, more respectful you are to people, your practice will just grow organically. And no amount of marketing or social media is going to overcome that. If you're kind of a jerk sometimes, especially with unhappy patients, it catches up to you pretty quickly. And especially, I mean, Charlotte, a couple million people, it's not as big a community as you think. And an unhappy patient is going to tell like a ton of people what you said or what you did or how you treated them rudely. And I'll never go back to there. You never should go there. I mean, that word will spread around. So just be nice to people. Be a good surgeon, but the bedside manner is critical.
Well, especially with online reviews, it's going to come out, word of mouth and online. By the way, if anybody wants to check out your website, it's natural-lookingresults.com. And you have a gorgeous office, by the way. And are you open to people talking? Are you looking for an associate, or where are you at with that?
Yes, I would definitely love to add another plastic surgeon to the practice. Someone who wants to do cosmetic surgery, really, because we don't do reconstructive. We stopped doing reconstructive in 2001,
Mm.
and the office is not really made for it, meaning nobody here would do insurance billing, so we wouldn't even have somebody that would do that. And so,
Trust me, the new guys coming out, they don't want to do insurance. They want to go straight to cosmetic.
yeah, so it shouldn't
Anybody,
be
you
hard to
heard it
find.
here. If you're interested, and then Dr. Ferrari's Instagram is Premier Plastic Surgery. Okay. And that is it for us for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Ferrari. It has been a pleasure catching up with you. I'm so glad things are going well. And everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. If you would please check out Beauty and the Biz, give us a review. That would be fantastic, and subscribe. And then if you have any feedback or questions for me, please leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com. You could also check out my new book. And then you can also check me out on Instagram. My handle is Catherine Maley, MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Hello, it's Catherine. If your practice feels busy but you're not seeing the growth you expected, there's usually a reason, and it's often something small that's quietly costing you revenue. That's why I offer a practice growth review. Now, in this call, I'll take an objective look at your patient flow, conversion process, and retention strategies to identify where opportunities may be slipping through the cracks. You'll walk away with a clear picture of what's working, what's not, and the few changes that could make the biggest difference. If you'd like an unbiased set of expert eyes on your practice, simply visit CatherineMaley.com to schedule your review.